All right, welcome back to What She Said. I am live. This is one of two live streams for today. I wish I was live about an hour ago because there have been some revelations and updates regarding Nico Iamaleava's departure from Tennessee. And it's not exactly what the media reported. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to What She Said Sports. Okay, so yeah. Yesterday, I reported that Nico had decided to leave the University of Tennessee, the Vols, and it was after a failed renegotiation attempt. So we heard that on Saturday, I believe April 12th, that Tennessee put an announcement to the media that they were moving on from Nico. Well, here's the thing. On Friday, April 11th, Nico reached out to his offensive coordinator to advise them that he was leaving Tennessee and declaring himself available for the portal. I checked; he is in the portal. So Nico moved on from Tennessee, not the other way around. And here's why: the negotiations started back in January, not a few days ago. And there are people who just heard the headline and was cheering for Tennessee. That's right. Put your foot down. NIL is ruining college sports. He wants to be paid like he's a pro. Those same people don't know that the only reason we're even having this conversation in the first place is because why? Because a certain quarterback who was injured from Georgia had to undergo surgery, hasn't worn one uniform for Miami, has what? Been paid $4 million. $4 million. And when Carson Beck, it was announced that Miami was paying him $4 million for 1 year. Crickets. I didn't hear anybody complain. I didn't hear anybody say anything. And with his endorsements, he'd amassed a total of $10 million. There are pros out there who don't make $10 million. And for those of you saying, that's right, Tennessee should not pay Nico. Where did Georgia land last year? Beck didn't even play in the playoffs. And to play an injured player $4 million for 1 year so he can stay with your squad, how much did they pay Cam Ward before he left? So when Duke leveled up and decided to pay Darian Mensah $4 million, not for 1 year, an additional $4 million for a second year, making a total of $8 million. That is more than Lamar Jackson's contract in the first 2 years of his rookie NFL seasons. Lamar Jackson's contract was actually $9 million for 4 years. I didn't hear anybody complaining when Darian inked the deal with Duke to stay for 2 years at a total of $8 million, which is more than the 32nd pick in the NFL draft. So why are we upset because Nico knows his worth and decided, I'm better than them? Where did y'all see Duke in the top 10? Right. So Nico knows his worth. Tennessee put out its financials to the NCAA. They raked in a record-setting $234 million for athletics alone. That is $32 million more than last year. And Nico was a big part of that. So if he's seeing Carson Beck being paid $4 million, Darian over at Duke being paid $4 million, why the hell wouldn't he want $4 million? I mean, that's just how it goes. If you go apply for a job and they said, hey, we're paying $232,000 for this position, and you apply for it, and they're like, no, we're going to give him $232,000. We're going to give you $90,000. Why the hell wouldn't you give me $232,000? We have the same qualifications, and last I checked, you wanted me to come here. So Nico was right. Now, yesterday I said what I would have done was go to the spring game and play in spring practice. But that was before I knew that he already on Friday, he went to the OC after months of failed negotiations and said, I'm declaring for the portal when it opens up. Now, was that a negotiation tactic? Maybe he was hoping they would hurry up and decide to pay him. Stephen A said Nico's true valuation is $3.1 million. Okay, what is Carson Beck's? Because $4 million for an injured QB is a lot. And he didn't have a good season. So Miami's coach went online and said, if they want to hold out, they might as well like pack it up and leave. I'm like, bro, you the reason we even having this conversation in the first place. Miami decided to pay Carson Beck $4 million when he wasn't worth the $4 million. His services was not worth $4 million. He was injured. That is a serious risk. And now other schools are leveling up because they have the money to do so, and so does Tennessee. So to me, Tennessee was basically telling Nico, since January, we don't think you're worth $4 million. So what did he do? Okay, fine. On Friday, April 11th, I'm telling my OC, I'm hopping in the portal when it opens on Wednesdays. I check, he's in there now. His phone will be ringing off the hook. The conversation has moved on to, instead of what 9 schools could he go to, one being the Colorado Buffs, it's now what 4 schools. It's been narrowed down. Actually, it's 3. Tulane, UNC, and UCLA. Some people think UCLA because he's from California. Tulane surprised me and just entered the chat. Apparently, they have $4 million. And then there's UNC, Bill Belichick. Now, a 70-year-old coach with a 24-year-old girlfriend probably sees things a little differently and probably isn't going to listen to the chatter coming out of Knoxville about Nico, knowing full well they have the money to spend, and Bill Belichick knows what it takes to get to the next level. And he's willing to probably sign Nico, especially after just saying he regrets not signing Lamar Jackson. So for those people who are on, television, the pundits trying to hate on Nico, how about y'all go hate on Miami? Because that's who set the price. Ryan Day had a $20 million roster, but the QB was only slated $2 million. The first $4 million QB I heard of coming out of Miami, Carson Beck from Georgia. I don't think Carson Beck made $4 million at Georgia. Miami is responsible for this, and Miami is also one of the first coaches to come out and say, let them try that at Miami. If they want to hold out, they can pack up. I'm like, y'all caused this problem. Duke just said when they saw Carson Beck get paid, cool, we want to keep our QB too for 2 years. To me, Darian Mensah is the winner here. $8 million while in college. He might not even go pro. Duke is not even at the top. They're in the middle of the pack in their conference. So to me, Darian Mensah is the winner here. And when he was offered $8 million, making him the highest paid college QB, again, crickets. But when Nico wants to renegotiate something he was given in high school, and they knew what they were doing when they flashed those millions in his face in high school, 18 to 25, that group, they tend to be impulsive sometimes. They don't understand the consequences and inflation. And things change. Yesterday's price is not today's price. That is Nico's message. He is, because Miami has shown us the going rate for a QB is $4 million, even if he's injured and didn't go to the Natty. And then Duke confirmed it with giving Darian Mensah $8 million. And they're not even at the top of the pack. So how do you think these top 10 QBs feel when they're getting $1 million or $2 million or $500,000, and they see Beck getting $4 million, and they see Mensah getting $4 million also, $8 million in total, which is more than Lamar Jackson's first 2 years in the NFL. That's NFL first round 32 pick money. It's not on Nico. And it comes out that this been brewing. And there's other players involved. Apparently, before the playoffs this year, several players threatened to hold out and not play in the playoff games. Because why? Their representation is like, y'all are playing almost 17 games and you're not being compensated. It's true. Wear and tear on the body. Some people were upset that certain players who were declaring for the draft didn't want to play in the bowl game. Well, Coach Prime said our players are playing. But that's still wear and tear on the body and they're not being compensated. What do these players get for these bowl games? I checked. When Colorado was at the Alamo Bowl, before NIL, a gift bag with a watch, maybe some headphones, not Beats. So people think it's okay for schools to rake in triple-digit millions. I'm starting with like a 2, not 2 million, not 20 million, 200 million, almost $250 million just for the athletic department alone, knowing full well football brings in that money. And you're paying this guy $2.5 million. Stephen A can say he's worth 3.1. Carson Beck got $4 million. He's in the top 10. Beck is not. Neither is Darian Mensah. And you don't want to pay him. So who are you going to pay? Why would he stay if you don't value him as a QB? And why wouldn't you value him if you set a record with your operating revenue for the athletic department to the tune of $32 million more than last year. You should have hurried up and wrote him a check for $4 million to retain him the way Duke tried to retain their quarterback. And again, they're not even in the top of the pack in the conference. So at what point does Tennessee begin to respect its QBs? Or is it a particular QB they want to respect and it's just not Nico, even though he put the team on his back and brought them back to notoriety? Crickets when Beck gets $4 million. Crickets when Darian Minster gets $8 million. But Nico wants to renegotiate to where Beck is, to where Minster is, and it's a problem. And he's in the top 10 and they are not. Gone are the days about tradition. College football has already been a business. It's just now the student athletes get the opportunity to partake in compensation. And they're being fought along the way. Well, at least some players. It's a good payday for Beck. A good payday for Darian at Duke. But Nico, I mean, I guess that's how you show gratitude for somebody helping you to rake in $32 million in profit. We don't value you. Okay, so Nico is correct for hopping into the portal. And if he notified his school on April 11th, a full 24 hours before Tennessee made the announcement, that Tennessee was not being truthful when they say they moved on from Nico. Nico moved on April 11th with his intention to hop in the portal. He's in the portal. Tennessee was not being truthful. Why would they put out that story? Because they want to disparage his reputation, seemingly. Why? You didn't want to pay him, so why should he stay? See, that's trying to put your foot on somebody's neck, even when you don't value them, because you don't want him to have any decision-making ability. But he does. If you sat down to renegotiate with him, there was nothing in his NIL contract that said he could not renegotiate. Why put out the story that you moving on from him when Nico moved on from you because you didn't value him? You clearly didn't value him, but we're going to see who you value, because you're going to pay somebody $4 million because that seems to be the going rate. And I got news for you. It might go up. While y'all waiting for the NCAA to help y'all out, and they couldn't even approve a spring game that other schools would have liked to have played in, good luck with that. Because Arch Manning has an NIL valuation of $6.5 million. Shedeur Sanders was $6 million. Travis Hunter, when it was all said and done with him at Colorado and his Adidas contract, it was $6 million. Six is more than 4. So what that means is the price is steadily going up. You want a cap? I don't know who's going to help you get one. Maybe it's time for the players to unionize. It's possible. But the point is, this could have all been solved if you would have just kept up with the going rate. There are 2 schools out there, Tennessee and Miami and Duke, who did what? Who showed you it's worth the pay to $4 million because you raked in $32 million. So yeah, y'all being cheap, you being stingy, and you obviously choosing who you want to give $4 million to. So we gonna see who you give the $4 million to. That's ultimately what it's gonna come out to be, because you're gonna pay the $4 million. See, as long as Gatorade and these other businesses were paying the millions of dollars, the schools were cool with the students getting the money. But once schools decided to start writing checks like Miami to Beck and Duke to Mensa, that's when programs like Tennessee want to start clutching their pearls. But they raked in record revenue-setting costs for the athletic department, $32 million. And they can't give him 4. So they can run it back one more time and make that same money again. So I guess they think Nico was disposable and they could go get somebody else to do it. Well, if you could have went and get somebody else to do it, why haven't you gone and gotten somebody else to do it since Peyton Manning was there? Nico did what hadn't been done in a long time, and they didn't want to show the gratitude. Nico didn't ask for something that doesn't already exist. Miami set the precedent. Duke confirmed it. It was Tennessee's turn. And they think letting him walk, okay, we'll see how it works out. When you go 75, don't say anything. When you don't make it back to the top 10, don't say anything. If you thought it was that easy to get there, then you would have done it long before Nico arrived. You would have never walked into his home or offered him as a high school player millions of dollars. He's right now the number one QB prospect in the portal. 3 schools are waiting for the 16th at midnight. And he's going to move on. There are people who want him to languish. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because there's precedent for the $4 million to be paid. Just because NIL valuation is $6 million for Arch Manning, don't think somebody out here is not about to get $6 million. The question is, who's going to pay it? That's the question. And when they're looking to the schools for the contract, maybe the schools should have made some partnership with Pepsi, with Coke, and maybe try to offset the additional $2 million for Nico. But to basically let him sit there and y'all fail negotiations the whole offseason, don't be mad because he knows his worth and he can move on. And when somebody like Belichick gets it done, don't say anything because you had the opportunity. Or Tulane, of all schools, Tulane is this close. They want to level up. They got money. Tennessee has money. They just have different priorities. So we're going to see how it works out. Good afternoon. Hey, Kiel, how you doing? So, yeah, we just taking the middle of the day to talk about this Nico situation and how the media is trying to make it look like Tennessee made a decision to move on from Nico when on April 11th, Nico moved on from Tennessee. And he's in the portal. The portal opens Wednesday. It's open for 10 days. We might get a surprise as to who else is in the portal. It wouldn't surprise me. This is an era where schools, their players can be told, if you hop in the portal, I got $6 million for you. I just said it. I said, y'all cough it up about $4 million. Quinn Ewers was offered $6 million to stay in college. So $6 million is already a reality. And if you want to stay in the confines of $2 million and $2.5 million, you do that. You do that. But when you don't get back to glory, when you don't rake in that $34 million, when that record has only been set once, that's on y'all. Because Nico didn't ask for anything that's not already out there. He could have asked for 6. He could have asked for 5. With the quarterbacks that got $4 million, he's better than both of them. He could have asked you for $5.5 million, just under what Quinn Ewers was offered. You think people don't know Quinn Ewers were offered $6 million to stay in school? Because people want to run it back. Sure, I'll pay you $6 million so I can make $36 million. These schools are raking in so much money. And all they want to talk about on these big box channel is tradition and attendance at the games. Yeah, that's why they can make so much money. That's a part of it. But TV deals is important too. Duke wants to clearly get there. So does Tulane. A private school out of New Orleans is ready to sign Nico. And they know what he wants. And he's going to get it. And somebody going to get 6. Quinn Ewers turned down $6 million to take the chance to go to the NFL draft, believing that he would also get a $6 million contract. And while that's true, I'm pretty sure $6 million in 1 year is better than $6 million divided by 4. So maybe he just was ready to go to the league. Maybe he knew had he stayed in college, he wouldn't have been able to be better than he was last year. But mathematically wise, $6 million for 1 year, I would have stayed. I would have went wherever they wanted me to go. And if they didn't say I had to get them back to the top 5, I'm taking the money. I'm taking it. Because if you don't think that Darian Mensah won $8 million for 2 years to stay at Duke, and that man might not ever go to the NFL. I told y'all yesterday, they saying Anthony Richardson should have stayed in school. People on threads, we were going back and forth. They were like, Carson Beck didn't go to Miami because he wasn't good enough to go to the NFL. He went to Miami because $4 million for 1 year was too good to pass up. And he's still going to get drafted. I kind of disagree, but it makes sense. I'm not going to argue with it. It's a valid thought. So again, Carson Beck took the opportunity to level up, stay in college for 1 year, make 4 rather than go to the league and have $4 million divided up over 4 years, which is $1 million a year. Shout out to Carson Beck. And I said it when I heard it, but I didn't hear anybody complain about it. I didn't hear anybody say when Carson Beck got offered $4 million by Miami that Miami or Carson Beck or anybody was ruining NIL. So if you ask me, is NIL being ruined? No, it's not. NIL is alive and well and doing what it's supposed to do. Poor decision making and unrealistic expectations is ruining NIL. Nico didn't have unrealistic expectations. He likely knew that Quinn Ewers got offered $6 million to hop in the portal. I'm sure he knew Carson Beck got $4 million. We all did, including Travis Hunter, who's the Heisman, and he said it. I didn't even get that kind of offer. He didn't. So who gets the offer? I guess that's what we're going to find out, who Tennessee values. So I don't want to give Nico the $4 million. So let me see who you're going to give it to. Trying to flim-flam a young man. That's pathetic. Yeah, for a team to do that. And I could see, and the crazy part is, Tennessee chased down Nico. They went to him when he was in high school, much like Michigan went to Bryce Underwood. I think Bryce Underwood is supposedly a $10 million deal. Nico's could have been 6, it could have been 8, it could have been 10. But the point is, they're now at a place where they see that the value for QBs is going up rapidly. I just said it last night. When Dylan Gabriel got paid by Oregon to come play for them, it was $1.9 million. And you see where he took them. That's where Duke want to get. That's why they paid Darian. Miami clearly wants to get there. That's why they paid Carson. I still ask, how much did they pay Cam Ward? I don't think he got a deal like that. So I guess we need to look at who's getting paid and whose reputation is being trashed for wanting to be paid, because that's what it's starting to look like. But we shall see. That's my motto, because these young men who are playing quarterback have the right to want to be paid fairly. So do the wide receivers. I told y'all when Ryan Day $20 million roster, the structure that came out that I located online, $2 million for the QB. The QB was at the top of the food chain. Rightfully so, right? Then you had the offensive linemen. And third on that list were receivers. Is that kind of how it is in the NFL? You have the quarterbacks make the most money, right? Then you have the linemen. They might not be at the top of the draft, but I think there might be a lineman this year who's at the top of the draft. You notice it's not defensive linemen, it's offensive linemen. And then the wide receivers. What did we say out of wide receivers and corners? Wide receivers make the most money, which is why I said Travis Hunter should go into the draft as a wide receiver. He should primarily play wide receiver and get some packages as a corner because he will be compensated more. If they're going to hold you back and not allow you to chase your dream of playing both ways full time, then pick wide receiver primarily. It seems like Ohio State followed the NFL a bit when it came to its structure. I was surprised that linemen got paid more than receivers, but common sense says I got to protect the quarterback. But I think you needed to compensate your receivers because your quarterback needs somebody to throw to. And last at the bottom of the list, defensive linemen and running backs. Some people on some of these big box networks don't actually believe running backs need to be compensated in the first round at all. I mean, I disagree. So, yeah, people saying that his father helping him wasn't a good deal. I mean, if his father might be a lawyer, I don't know what his father does. Initially, I'm thinking he didn't tell Tennessee he wanted to leave. It's just that he just was a no-show. When they called him a no-show, that's not true. That's a fabrication. He notified them April 11th. They notified us April 12th. So on April 11th, he wasn't a no-show. That was his cutoff point. They had been negotiating since January. And he said, okay, before we get into this spring ball practice, I'm out. And now they want to make him look like he's difficult. They want to try to hold him back. They want to try to gang up on him. And they hoping he sits in that portal. But between Tulane, UCLA, and Belichick at UNC, I don't see it. One of those schools is going to grab him. He's the only 5-star QB in the portal right now. And everybody knows what he can do. And Tulane wants to get to where Tennessee was. So does UCLA. So does UNC. Colorado entered the conversation briefly, but I was like, I don't know. I don't see us getting another QB. But hell, I didn't know we just signed another wide receiver. I thought we were good. So you just never know. You know, you could look up and one of our QBs could be gone. I'm just saying. And they would have the right to do that, because if we're not paying 6 million, 4 million, 2.5 million, and another school is, and they're gonna be QB1 and they ain't gotta fight for it, okay. I'm just saying things are changing. Things are changing and it's rapid. So Tennessee is wrong here. People are saying Nico is wrong. No, Tennessee is wrong for literally trying to defame him and say he was a no-show when he notified them on April 11th. That's not a no-show. That's failed negotiations and we're going to separate ways. That's not right for them to do that to him. Because why? They didn't want to pay him. So why are you mad if he decided to move on? He didn't stay and throw a fit. He said, okay, I'm out. But they upset because why? He has choices. That's why you upset. You didn't want to pay him. He knew his worth. You can't be mad when a man knows his worth. These students know their worth. They're not signing up to these schools because of the tradition of the university. If that ever was a thing, it's no longer a thing. This is about money. It's always been about money for coaches. It's always been about the money for the schools. Now it's time for the students, the student athletes. This is about money. And he deserves to be compensated more or the same or more than a QB with a lesser rank than he is. Carson Beck. Darian Mensah. Okay. So that's on Tennessee. Hey, Gracie. QB, left tackle, then the wide receivers. Okay, the QB, the left tackle, and then the wide receivers. Okay, so thank you for that, Kiel. So at Ohio State, it was a QB, the offensive line, and the wide receivers. And if I'm not mistaken, it looks like the wide receivers at Ohio State got money and NIL deals. And honestly, you know, if you only have $20 million to share amongst your top players, let's say you have, I don't know, 6 top players. I don't know. It depends on how you want to look at it. And you give it 2 to the QB, you know, and then you got to pay $1 million each to the line. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the University of Texas paid their offensive line handsomely as well. Not this year, last year, I think. I remember when I was doing the research, I found Ohio State's hierarchy for paying players. I found out that UT paid their offensive line handsomely. So it does seem that the offensive line and the QB get the money. Again, crickets when it comes to Beck and Mensah getting paid handsomely. Mensah's the highest paid QB in college football. Why wouldn't a top 10 QB want what they have equal or more? If you're going to come get me out of high school, you telling me I'm him. And that's exactly what Tennessee did. So it says, love my sister, what she said. Hey, how you doing, Elijah? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I'm just setting the record straight because they fabricating on Nico. Never met Nico a day in my life, but I have read that this young man put this school on his back and they don't want to compensate him. Cool. But when he want to declare for the portal, they want to trash his reputation, call him a no-show, but he actually notified them the day before they notified the media. So he wasn't a no-show. Why defame him? Like, that's not right for a university to do that after failed negotiations. Negotiations are allowed. Remember, this is business. It said, like the NFL, the market in the East, the market is reset when the price goes up for QBs and NIL. Right. And that's another thing. So now you have Darian Mensah again. Kudos to him. $8 million to stay at Duke, who's in the middle of the pack. They clearly want to make a run for it. Maybe they'll get there. I'm not upset. But what does it say when you have a QB that may or may not go to the league making more than the first round pick in the second half or the second round? If Lamar Jackson was looking at this, he's like, damn, I only got $9 million and it was spread out over 4 years. Now, mind you, when it got to that 5th year, he was paid handsomely, $23 million guaranteed. But he had to get to the 5th year. In college, it seems a little easier to get the money if you're good. If you're good. Should Travis Hunter have stayed one more year and played both ways? play both sides of the ball at CU rather than declare for the draft and fight with the NFL over what side he's going to play, especially if he's not the first pick of the draft? Now, the first pick of the draft gets guaranteed 40, but will Travis be the first pick of the draft? We're going to talk about it tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stick around for our second podcast of the day. I had to hop on here and talk about Nico because they were fabricating stories. They trying to defame him, and all he's trying to do is be equal paid with the rest of the QBs that he's better than. So, we're going to get out of here. We're going to be back later on tonight. Grab your snacks, get comfortable. We'll be talking about the Colorado Buffaloes, the latest with Coach Prime, and the latest with the NFL draft. There's been some really good revelations. Y'all know I follow the QBs, and there's, we're friends of Cam Ward, friends of Jalen Milroe, friends of Will Howard, Kyle McCord. So we're just checking out what's going on. And Overtime is supposed to have its first episode featuring Shadua Sanders, Ashton Genty, and Jackson Dart on Overtime today. So hopefully we get to watch that tonight. So I'm going to get out of here, y'all. I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me. Hit the like button. And yeah, see y'all tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See y'all later.
Yeah, welcome fam, Mr. 5. Break it down, talking sports, hard hustle. Wear the crown, subscribe to the journey. Don't sleep on the grind. Hit the like button. Come on, don't be blind. Hit that like, don't be stingy now. Join the movement, let's show them how. What she said, we bring the vibes, together we bros, reaching higher and higher. From hoops to the griddle, we cover it all. Champions rise and together we never fall. Join the fam, we celebrate every win. What she said, let's meet where the passion begins. Hit that like, don't be stingy now. Join the movement, let's show them how. What she said, we bring the vibes, together we rose, reaching higher and higher. Welcome aboard, let's make it loud. What you say, with our other crowd.